Thank you for joining us virtually for our 2021 America's Leadership Forum.
Well, at EY, we know that building a globally inclusive and diverse and collaborative workforce that is tremendously internationally savvy is going to be important to all of us. To support that inclusiveness and that collaboration across borders, across the entire Americas.
We are delighted to be convening leaders from across the Americas to speak on timely and relevant topics, such as global leadership, arts, and environmental and social corporate governance.
Why does diversity matter to you personally?
We need a culture that welcomes everyone, regardless of race, creed, religion, to all the points that Ken raised, gender identity or other differences. And to get the best and the brightest, we really do have to create a culture, to Ken's point, that supports everyone so that all feel welcomed, heard, and valued.
Countries are diverse, and so if you can manage diversity across geographic boundaries, you can definitely manage diversity within geographic boundaries.
Art will always find a way.
We wanted to make a kind of art that was not dependent on those parameters, and that could simply provide experiences and a form of living and a form of thinking that was not constrained by it being a product. It should really act on the world to transform it.
Past year, 2020, it became a moment in which you had about 300 artists protesting in front of the Ministry of Culture.
You know, what's happening in Cuba is looked by everyone with interest because it's really happening also everywhere.
And the Cuba Study Group, one of its cornerstones is to encourage and initiate dialogue over very difficult issues.
Thank you, Mike. And first of all, thank you to the Biennial for hosting us today and for our audience for joining us. The scenario in Washington is no less complex right now. I mean,
can you talk a little bit about what sort of the trend lines have been in Cuban American points of view on what the U.S. policy should be toward Cuba?
We want a democratic Cuba, we want the economic to thrive, we want people to have rights.
We don't know how much further they're looking at a deeper, a more substantive shift in policy.
I think this has been a really great panel for beginning what can continue to be a reflection about obviously U.S.-Cuban relations, but the importance of also not understanding Cuba only through the prism of its relationship with the United States.
It's important to define that ESG is not about value, it's about the ability to create and sustain long-term value in a rapidly changing world.
What we also do in terms of ESG is making sure that we're building the capacity of the countries by following our standards.
More than that, it's changing the landscape around many companies, which of course varies by industry and geography and so on, but it's meaning that they have to care on some level about the risks and opportunities associated with their ESG performance.
Think about an ESG program that addresses some of the issues we've talked about in terms of effectiveness and begin driving, at least on a company by company level, change that matters within that company, and hopefully other companies will follow.